Okay, take 2 at this. So my last one, my introduction ended up being 5 minutes, and that's far too long. I'm going to quickly explain everything that I've got set up here, and then we're going to try and move on with things. So I've got the camera on selfie, so everything's backwards. My All Good t-shirt reads backwards. If I can figure out how to flip it around, I will. If you see me looking off to the screen, I have my notes here on the left, and I have research here on the right, so if I do forget anything, or I need to be pretty accurate with stats or anything, I can just pop it up. So again, if you do see me looking off, that's why. The other day I asked for your opinion on the NHS, or it being recommended to the NHS that they start producing or prescribing the weight loss jab. I believe it was NICE, and that is an abbreviation for National Institute of Healthcare and Excellence. No, it's not. National Institute for Health and Care Excellence. I couldn't remember their name earlier on when I freaking read it however many times. But that's not what we're here for. They recommended that the NHS would start using it because they'd done research, or there was a research study carried out recently that was published in I've got it here. I knew I wouldn't remember this either. It is the New England Journal of Medicine. And again, the data from it came back pretty good. I think it's fantastic in these situations to ask for opinions of other people. I wanted to see where everybody else stood. I kind of knew where I was standing off the bat. I think it's important that it's discussed, and I do think it's important that things like this are brought forward because the numbers are rising within overweight and obesity and low levels of activity. And I think as health professionals, we should take that as almost an insult because there's more PTs than there's ever been. However, the number of obese people is continually going up. So, I want you guys to understand as well, you've all seen the results that I've gotten with reducing body fat in clients in the past. However, there are a lot of stories that you don't get to see. There are people that start with me and after a couple days, they just disappear. The idea of trying to lose weight is harder than living with being overweight. And that's normally the case, and that's sad. And it upsets me and infuriates me that I can't do more to help those people. There are also people that get to a point in their journey where they feel it's taken too long to see the results that they want to. These are commonly going to be yo-yo dieters. They're people that do things very drastic. They see results, but it's not sustainable. So then they give up and then they start something else. They go really drastic, see the results, it's not sustainable, and they keep doing that. And they drop off. And again, it infuriates me that I can't tap into these people to say, look, the results are coming. And you all know I post constantly saying that these things take time. And then finally, the worst ones, without a doubt, are the ones that see results, feel better for it, and then something happens, and this is what I am fascinated with, where they then undo their hard work. Something happens that they then think it's going to be better, or they get a better reward. This is probably something related to dopamine, and I can touch on that later, that going back to excessively or overeating feels better than being healthy and actually feeling better, if that makes sense. If not, we can come back to it. You all know that I know, and I definitely do know, that obesity is more complex than someone that's lazy and needs to do more or eat less. It's very, very complex, and I believe that is why we are continuing to see the numbers go up. However, I do also believe there's a lot of things within society that are causing this to continue to spiral out of control, and I think I could talk on that for hours. Again, this has been like a 4-minute introduction again. I'm probably not going to redo this. I'm just going to try and get through everything else. I really do want to focus on this medication and my opinion and what I've read about this jab. So I'm going to get moving on with it. When I do start though, I want you to understand that prevention is always going to be better than cure. So if you can try and start making changes to your lifestyle now before you get to that obese category, and I believe that's a BMI over 30, it's going to be better and easier because, and again, I'm going to touch on this in a bit, but the more weight you gain, the harder it does become to lose body fat. And that's to do with hormones within your body. Again, prevention's better than the cure. However, the world that we live in now, we need as much help as we can possibly get to be happier. There's so much stuff, there's so much research, you see it on social media about levels of happiness dropping, the pressures on people, mental health. Is mental health always a negative thing? Because would I say mental health's at an all-time low? I'm sure just now. There's so many things, there's so many people bullying one another. Suicide, I'm sure, is at its highest it's ever been. All of this stuff, like, we need to be able to get as much help from as many different avenues as possible. And if medication is that avenue, the same as with depression, there are ways to help with depression along with medication. I don't see why using a jab or an injection is any different to using a medication to aid you or to push you on to then help you take the other steps needed to improve your mental health. The same as nicotine patches potentially for quitting smoking. These things need to go alongside other things. And again, let's keep moving. I don't want to touch on those things too much. You can probably already tell I'm pro-jab for obese patients. So again, this study, it was published by the New England Journal of Medicine. It was done by a whole bunch of doctors, which is normally a pretty good sign. The study was carried out in what's called a double-blinded trial. So that means nobody knows what anybody's getting. Obviously, the medication is divvied out. They know there's X amount of the medication and then there's X amount of placebo. However, the doctors that are given the medication and the clients or the patients that are taking it, neither of those two parties know. So there's not going to be any biases. There's not going to be people being like, oh, I know I'm getting it, so I know I'm going to lose, or I'm going to put more effort in. There's not going to be anything like that. That's a good thing. It means there are going to be less bias, so it's a good thing for the study. The medication was called Semaglutide, and what this does is it works in relation to it's called glucagon-like peptide 1 or GLP-1. And what this does is it works with what's a hormone in your body called leptin, which tells you when, or signifies when you're full. It's an appetite suppressant. It tells you, it signals to your body that you don't need to eat as much or you don't need to eat anymore. Within the study, there was 2,000 people. By the end of it, 64 dropped out, and I will touch on them later. The reason they dropped out is not the nicest. Along with the semaglutide, the injections, which were given to them weekly, they were given lifestyle intervention. And in the lifestyle intervention, there was accountability. I believe it was every 4 weeks they got counselling or they got some sort of guidance or coaching. And with that, with the lifestyle intervention, there was a calorie deficit. So a reduction of 500 calories. The study doesn't say, or actually, let me double check. I'm pretty sure the study didn't say that it was from, or how it was calculated. Right, it's the reduction in the 500 calorie deficit per day relative to energy expenditure estimated on the time they underwent the randomized. Yeah, so it was a 500 calorie deficit. It wasn't just a reduction of 500 calories of what they were currently eating. There was an increase in physical activity of 150 minutes per week. So again, they were directed to eat less and do more, which is fantastic. And which is what we do want everybody to be doing. We want everybody to be eating, especially for fat loss, you need to be in a calorie deficit. So eating less and doing more. Both diet and activity were recorded. Again, these are never actually that accurate. However, the counselling sessions did help, and they also checked over to make sure that things were getting done properly. So, in the end, both groups managed to lose body weight. The placebo group, or the group that just got some sort of solution that wasn't the medication, wasn't the semaglutide, lost 2.4% of their body fat. So these people with the above 30% BMI, again, their body weight could be all different heights. It's all relative to that. But they all managed to lose, in the placebo group, 2.4% of their body weight. The group that were taking the medication and had the lifestyle intervention lost 14.9. So that's a massive difference in the two. Again, there's reasons potentially for that, but we're not going to go into that. We're just going to go into straight away what's happening. And again, I don't think the reasons that we could say for that are anything other than that this medication can help. It can help more than just doing the exercise and the interventions on their own. However, there was a very big dropout rate within the group taking the medication. That group reported things like nausea, diarrhea, constipation, stomach discomfort. And again, about 40% of them reported some sort of discomforts, which is, I guess, a negative. But it could be something that when there's potentially life-threatening opportunity with the level of obesity that person's dealing with, or how their body's dealing with that level of obesity that they're at, I think these things of feeling sick, stomach cramps, diarrhea, they may be acceptable. That's maybe brutal from my point of view, but whether it's life with a bit of discomfort and death, I think I would pick life with a bit of discomfort. I'd like to hear your opinions on that as well. So the only other medication that they've got in comparison to this, or that they mention in the study, is another medication, but you had to take that every single day. And the results with that were still around 12% reduction in body fat. So people were, and as I've said, lost more body fat taking this medication and having the life intervention. They do believe, or it has been suggested, that the reason that happened is the reduction in appetite allowed people to stick to the calorie deficit better. And the biggest part of calorie deficit, increased exercise, all these things is adherence. It's how long you can stick to it for. There is no week fix. There's no 1 month and it's going to be sorted. There's no blueprint for that. There is just, you need to do this each day for as long as you can, with diet breaks in there, with refeeds. However, it's a long-term thing. And you also then need to be able to adhere to it post-treatment, or diet, as some people call it. There was also another study carried out, and it looked at non-alcoholic steatohepatitis, which is fatty liver disease and also commonly associated with obesity. It was also published by the same New England Journal of Medicine, but by completely different doctors, and they seen a reduction in body fat of 13% compared to 1% of the placebo group. Again, I've waffled for ages here, so I'm just going to you understand that the study was done well, and the results suggest that this does work. I'm going to go on to my points of why I think it's a benefit. And at the start, I mentioned that I've seen people make progress or not make progress fast enough, and it deters them, and it just puts them off. The thing I like about this is it's not like someone mentioned the silver bullet, or it's not a magic pill. It's not like you take it and then you just keep living the life you're living and you see the results. There's a calorie controlled nutrition plan or a healthier lifestyle intervention implemented with it. And if it's helping people stick to that, I think it's a good thing. I genuinely do. And I think, in my opinion, that surpasses the discomfort that people will face from that. I'd love to hear your opinion on that. There is a huge discrepancy in tracking. And again, like I mentioned, if this medication helps people to adhere to it, adhere to that tracking, I think it's a good thing. Also, another point that sorry, I had to scroll down there. I hadn't been scrolling at all. I've just been talking. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. So if this amount of weight loss, so the 12.5% more weight loss that has occurred from the placebo group, if losing that much weight is then going to allow someone to actually be able to move, Because you've got to remember that obesity impacts people differently, and there are some people that get to a point or a level of obesity that they can't even get up anymore. So if they're able to lose that body fat, that then allows them to start being more active, I believe that are then going to knock them on or push them on to another step to then be able to continue this through themselves. And I guess that could be kind of touching on the idea of rebounding. People rebound from diets. People rebound from levels of activity. And by rebounding, you've got to think about it as like steps of behavior change. So pre-contemplation, contemplation, action, maintenance, and then relapse. I'm sure that's what they are. There may be another one in there. I'm sorry if I forgot it. And that's in the steps of behavior change. Relapse is a part of that. Like, it's expected. So the fact that people would be like, oh, well, what happens if someone comes off it and then they gain a bit of weight? Maybe they do. But we're hoping that the intervention is going to be, and especially with the time it took. So it was, I don't know if I mentioned this, it was 68 weeks, excuse me, that this was carried over. So over a year. So you would hope within 68 weeks that some new habits and behaviours would be ingrained and embedded into these clients and these patients. So you would hope that if, when they come off the injections and appetite does start to increase again, they're already moving a little bit more, and what they're eating already makes them either feel a bit more satiated, meaning full, or, I'm talking so fast my throat's drying out, or that just general lifestyle has shifted away from where it was, that they don't see the masses amounts. There's maybe just a small relapse or a small rebound. But you do have to consider that there are going to be people that are just going to fall back to where they were. And I believe that then there needs to be something else set in. So some sort of, like there was every 4 weeks they would get counselling. Like, potentially there's something like that that's continued until they can be then, I don't know, signed off to say, we believe that you can continue this in your own time. Again, I don't think this is a quick fix or a magic drug, and I don't think it's what people are hoping it's going to be. It's not going to let you eat wherever you want and still lose weight. You do need to still be in a calorie deficit. There are laws to thermodynamics, which mean if you eat more than your body burns, you're going to gain weight. Your body's going to store that as energy for later on. I also don't believe or think that people should be getting excited that this is some sort of aid for if you're trying to lose a few pounds for a holiday. I think this is definitely something that can be used and utilised within the obese population. I think as well, I like going back to the opinions of some people as well. I think this could, I think it could save us money in the long run as taxpayers. In fact, I'm not even going to go on to that because I don't believe that's an important point. I think that completely missed the bigger picture, but that's just my opinion. To round this all up, I think that people need to remember that obesity is not just people being lazy. I'm sure there's something to do with like 50% of obese people have suffered from some sort of trauma within their life. And then there's another quite a high percentage of that, or in fact, we all know that a massive percent of how we turn out who we are is through peers and family. So it's to do with if we can reduce down obesity numbers. There's not, like, you got to remember, you're not a bad person. Like, I'm not shaming anybody here. If we can reduce down obesity numbers, the likelihood of the next generation, there's going to be less people that are obese because they're going to have a better understanding of nutrition, health, and living a healthy lifestyle. I guess that's my top hints on it. I would love to hear yours. This has lasted twice as long as I wanted it to, and that's even with notes. I think it's a very complex topic. I'm sorry for this taking so long. I hope I've not waffled too much. I'd love to hear what you think. Thanks very much, everybody, and I'll speak to you soon.